This lesson focuses on the all-important technique that is downpicking. We're going to work out why rock players from Eddie Van Halen through to James Hetfield rely on this technique to bring energy and rhythmic precision to their music. We'll start off with the fundamentals, and then we'll work through some top tips to avoid bad habits or limitations that will cause you problems further down the line. I'm Jamie Hunt from Guitar World, and today we're going to check out the technique that we know as downpicking. Why do we need it? Because it gives us weight, energy and drive into our playing. And for those reasons, hard rock and metal players really dig this approach. So if you take a phrase like this, you can really hear the aggression and drive that that downpicking is bringing to that kind of phrase. And for those reasons, James Hetfield, Gary Holt, Scott Ian, those classic metal players absolutely love this technique. If you dial it back a little bit, you can get some groove and forward momentum in this kind of hard rock phrasing. So you can kind of hear those AC/DC kind of grooves happening with that. If you want to lift your single note playing, it's also awesome for that kind of thing. So if you take a phrase like this, you can really hear the energy and the kind of projection that's given to the phrase. So we're going to go deep, check out that technique and see where it takes us. So to get into downpicking, there's a few things we need to put in place. First of all, the motion needs to come from the wrist, not the arm. So if you find yourself kind of moving the whole arm as you pick, that's a mistake. That's going to slow you down, burn you out of energy very quickly, and restrict the top speeds that you can reach. So what we want to try and reach for is this wrist motion. So first of all, we want to try and get that wrist connecting with the note with your pick. Just play your low E string and get that connection happening with your arm staying still and the wrist doing all of the work. Once you've got that happening, there's another thing to keep in mind. So to keep the thing sounding smooth and flowing across the strings, what we want to do is bring our thumb angle up to a 45 degrees. Now that means we don't end up playing the pick flat to the strings, we get loads of resistance, and then essentially we get a good first note, but then we have to fight through the string and then reset and get back again. By getting that 45-degree angle, we actually slice through the string and glide across it. And if you listen to the tone change, you get an okay sound with a flat pick, but as we glide through the string and use less energy, it actually sounds like we're hitting the string harder, so that really works in our favour. So we're going to get a bright, aggressive sound with the least resistance from the string. So picking from the wrist, relaxed wrist, 45-degree angle. Check out exercise 1. So now we've got that foundation coming together with those downstrokes, we're going to go up a gear, and this time we're going to bring in some eighth notes into play. So that means we're going to get 2 notes per beat. So if I give you an idea of the phrase, we're going to play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So on those doubles, those little parts, a couple of things to keep in mind here. We're actually going to think about the way that we leave the strings when we play our downstrokes to make sure that we can get fluidity and the kind of a flow to what's going on. So another area we're going to look at is the way that we leave the strings with the pick. A lot of players will pick in a straight line, and if you see what's happening here, you pick the note and then you end up hitting the next string, which is going to create sound and noises that we don't want, but it also traps us in that space between string 6 and string 5 in this case. So to get out of that, you then need to lift your hand up, bring it back and down again in order to get our next downstroke, which loses a lot of flow and momentum. Other things that people might find themselves doing is the hand rolling forward a little bit, which is great for some picking techniques. However, we still find ourselves trapped. So something to think about here is, if you watch the bottom of my hand, it's going to rotate upwards a little bit. So as I play my downstroke, the pick actually leaves and moves away from the strings rather than getting caught. So then we're able to play a series of downstrokes without getting trapped in any spaces or needing to avoid making noises on strings that we don't want to play. So elevate the hand, downstroke, leave the strings as we play our eighth notes. One of the great things about downpicking is it really establishes a strong sense of rhythmic consistency. So for that reason, it's really great for playing downbeats, but also playing offbeat rhythms that are less common and give us a bit more interest and spice in our playing. So we're going to do a phrase now where we focus on the offbeats a little bit more. So this kind of phrase. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So a couple of things to think about there. There's palm muting going on. So we're going to rest the underside of our picking hand against the strings as we pick to get that kind of dead, muted, percussive, tight sound. But also it creates spaces between the notes so we can really hear those offbeat phrases. Okay, so once we've got that little phrasing in place, there's a quicker turnaround at the end of the sequence, which uses an open E power chord, a B flat on the 1st and 3rd frets of the 5th, 4th and 3rd string, a G power chord on the 3rd and 5th frets of the 6th, 5th and 4th string, and then an F power chord 2 frets lower. So there's the phrase. Now the thing I want you to think about here is keeping a clear and tight sound. So one thing we can think about with the picking hand is that often people will hold the pick with the fingertip pointing at the end of the pick, which is okay for kind of middle tempo things, but when you're playing faster sequences that can actually get in the way and cause you to trip up. So what I want you to think about doing is tucking that fingertip so it's pointing back towards you, so as you hold your pick the tip of the pick is free of anything getting in the way of it. So as we do those faster string changes, there's nothing to cause us to trip up and lose our way with what's going on. So with exercise 4, we're going to up the energy levels big time. This time we're going with 8th note triplets, which is going to give us 3 equal notes per beat, and it's really going to give it that sense of metal rhythm playing. So to get that feel, if our pulse is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, our 8th triplets would be 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So we got our equal spacing of 3 beats. So something to remember here with the phrase, we're going to be palm muting along with it. So 1, 2, 3. Then we got our turnaround phrase. So with those 8th triplet phrases, to get that tight and articulate, we're down picking as before. But something where people tend to kind of tense up and lose their flow with this sort of thing with down picking is you can easily over press with the down picking hand. And if you do that too much, we lose the pitch. So we want to get that soft spot of where we get the pitch and the weight and the chug into what's happening. But if we keep that tension just right in terms of how much we press down and get that light touch, what's really important is that we still want to leave the string with that upwards momentum as we move away from the string to avoid getting that caught in the strings thing again. So if we press down too hard, we can't really lift at the same time. So make sure you get that kind of light touch there so we get that articulate tight sound, but we can still leave the string with that upwards momentum. So for exercise 5, we're going to venture into the world of 16th note down picking, which is right at the heart of high energy, driving, rock and metal rhythm guitar playing. So for this, we need to play 4 notes per beat. So if our pulse is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, our 16th notes would be 1 E under, 2 E under, 3 E under, 4 E under, 1 E under, 2 E under, 3 E under, 4 E under. But we're not going to worry about playing all those 16th notes back to back just yet. We're going to play the first 3 16th notes of beat 1, rest on beat 2, and play the first 3 16ths of beat 3 again, and then rest on beat 4. So we get that phrasing under our fingers as the kind of the template for this exercise. We get 1 E under, 2 E under, 3 E under, 4 E under, 1 E under, 2 E under, 3 E under, 4 E under. Now what you'll notice is because we've got some quick notes back to back, what we really want to do is condense the amount of motion in the picking hand. So if we can have a small motion as you do that, it becomes easier to get the speed, but also stay relaxed at the same time. And when you play faster things, the key to all of this stuff is to be as relaxed as possible. So small motions in the picking hand, and you should be able to play this exercise. Here's exercise 5. So you've made it to exercise 6, and now we're going to stay with 16th notes but for much longer phrases. So to get rhythmic definition, we're going to focus on using accents to bring out the rhythmic shape. So to get our phrase under our belt so we can work on this, we're going to play the 12th fret but accent the first note with palm muting as well. So we want to stay relaxed, palm mute, and accent the first note. So we hear that 4. Rest for a beat, play the same rhythm but from the 10th fret. And then we get to the 9th fret, we're going to play 3 phrases of 3 because of the accents and 1 phrase of 4, but it's all back to back. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that phrase. Before we dive into the entirety of exercise 6, let's take the 3rd note of that sequence and use that as its own study. So let's bring the tempo back and gauge how much pick attack you use for your accent versus your unaccented downstrokes. We want to make sure that you've got enough dynamic range between those 2 notes so we get the shape, but also it will really help you retain that relaxed posture as you play. As you speed that up. So focus on those elements and see if you can bring it all together for exercise 6.